Campi Flegrei Volcano update. Guys, I have been suspecting it, and now we have the confirmation. The new INGV weekly bulletin is out and the measurements are accelerating, guys. The supervolcano in Naples in Italy is showing signs of accelerated unrest. And what will that mean, guys? We've talked about the ground uplift quite a lot in my recent videos, and I urge you to watch my last video about the new study that tells us what the earthquakes are doing with the volcano and how they weaken the crust, not by just shaking. There's something else going on because there is a different type of earthquakes going on. And what we've heard now from the bulletin plays right into that and makes the whole thing a little bit more concerning. So that video is in the end screen, but let's get to what really has happened. The ground uplift at Campi Flegrei has accelerated more strongly than anticipated. So they have corrected their data compared to the last bulletin, where the ground uplift was said to have raised from 1.5 centimeters a month to 2 centimeters a month. But now it is 2.5 centimeters a month. And you might think, well, what are you talking about? This is just a few millimeters in a hole of just a few inches. Guys, look at this. This is the Medusa station with the tight gogs that is measuring the unrest, and it's measuring the land rise. And you can see over the years how that has accelerated. We're approaching 1.60 meters. That's why the port of Pozzuoli is running dry. There's no water in there because the land is rising. This is significant. And guys, we had the unrest in May 2024 where the land rise had accelerated, and in February, March, where we had that seismic crisis at Campi Flegrei, non-stop earthquakes in the higher magnitude, 4.6, which is very high for Campi Flegrei, and the land rise had accelerated there with up to 3 centimeters. And then over the year, it went down back to 1.5, but now we're back at 2.5. And I said it, for 4 to 5 weeks now, we've basically had these earthquake swarms or earthquakes continuously every day. So the ground uplift has accelerated to 25 millimeters, 2.5 centimeters per month, instead of the previously calculated 2 centimeters. So if the ground continues to uplift at the same rate, there is an increased risk that we could see more moderate to strong earthquakes, and that we could see a magnitude 4+ earthquake again, and even above. And what the scientists are saying, a magnitude 5 earthquake, 5.1, something like this, is definitely possible at the Campi Flegrei volcano. And that would be devastating because it's so densely populated with homes that are not retrofitted to withstand that. And again, earthquakes like this, what they do to the caprock layer that keeps the lid on, watch my video. I don't want to repeat this. This is a groundbreaking, so important study. And we have this accelerated ground lift now confirmed. Greater stress is going to build up underneath the surface. And if that stress cannot be relieved in some way by many smaller earthquakes, the risk for a stronger earthquake certainly is rising. The new bulletin tells us how many earthquakes were happening. If we look at the past week between November 3rd and November 9th, this is what the bulletin refers to. It hasn't even incorporated the last few days. So 165 earthquakes with magnitude greater than 0. And that's more than in the previous week's bulletin. Previous week, there were 149 events. Strongest earthquake last week was 2.5, and we had what they say 3 seismic swarms. I call this a continuous seismic swarm. It depends on how you want to word this. Let's have a look at the geochemical data that they have released in the new bulletin. Yeah, they're telling us they also confirm the long-term trend. And this always sounds so good. Oh, it's confirming the long-term trend. No, it's actually confirming that the long-term trend is going up. It's warming up in the hydrothermal system of the volcano, and we do have increased gas emissions. So guys, everything is coming together. Accelerated land rise, accelerated gas, accelerated earthquakes. What about the temperatures? Well, let's talk about the Peschiarelli area where we have a lot of fumaroles. That's basically in that crater, in the Campi Flegrei Solfatara crater, this like sand dune-like thing. It's in the northeastern outer slope of the Solfatara, and we have continuous measurements from the Flux 8 station. They say, well, everything remains basically the same when it comes to CO2 flux gases released. Compared to the previous weeks, but the gas is high, the releases are high. Fumarole emissions, they're measured approximately at a 5-meter distance from the fumarole. 94 degrees Celsius last week, minimum of 91 degrees Celsius because of rainfall. Usually there the temperature goes a little bit down from 96 to 94 if the weather is getting colder, because I said it's 5 meters away. And they also say these fluctuations are a meteorological influence on that local degassing process. So that's why there might be a temporary slowdown in degassing, which has nothing to do with the volcano itself, but with the weather. But if we look at the Solfatara crater area, there's the FLX OV5 station that has recorded an average temperature of approximately 166 degrees Celsius at the main fumarole, the BG fumarole, and with peak values, we had that the last weeks, up to 170 degrees, but now they're even as high as 173 degrees Celsius. So it is also here. The curve is going up, guys. What does the INGV tell us? They say this temperature increase is correlating with increasing diffuse gas fluxes and the calculated equilibrium temperatures of the hydrothermal system. I'm very interested about the monthly bulletin that will come out for this month, for November, because in October alone, there were 1,050 earthquakes at Campi Flegrei, and epicenters predominantly located where it's densely populated around Pozzuoli, the Solfatara crater, Agnano, Peschiarelli, Bagnoli, and in the Gulf of Pozzuoli, in the water. Shallow, depth up to 3 to 4 miles, 5 kilometers. So we have a tense situation that is going on there at the Campi Flegrei volcano. The pressure is building up underneath the surface. The heating of the volcanic system continues. We have the acceleration of the ground uplift, which is accompanied by intense seismic activity because the crust is breaking. But again, you have to watch that study because that is kind of scary what that does. These earthquakes are different than other earthquakes. We have high gas emissions. We have rising gas temperatures. For every volcano, normally these are, we have to say it, very concerning, alarming indicators. We're not going to alert level orange. We're not. That's why they invented another yellow alert level, dark yellow. Although 2 years ago they said if these earthquakes continue, if we have just one more magnitude 4, we will increase it to orange. We've had multiple since then. Multiple this year. This year was the worst when it comes to magnitude 4 earthquakes, as you can see in the list here. So when are they going to do something? Well, we just had the evacuation rehearsal. Now they named it for volcanic risk. Trying to evacuate in the water, getting people to Sicily and Sardinia. Well, if there should be something happening in the water, you can cross that off your list. And if there's a stronger earthquake, Via Tangenziale with their columns will collapse in parts. So where's your evacuation route? So wouldn't it be smart to slowly start resettling people, at least in the red zone, somewhere else? guys, we can only wait and see and wait how this is unfolding, what the earthquake magnitudes are doing, if we will see a larger one. I hope the people in Campi Flegrei are prepared, but how can you be prepared? You need to sleep at night, despite the fact that your house might collapse above you. We've got the same situation in Turkey. We've seen that with the earthquakes. So check the study in the end screen, which also explains to you what magnitudes we can expect from this volcano and why. Highly interesting. I hope to see you there in a second. If you want to support the channel, click one of these buttons, buy me a coffee, become a member, give me a super. Thank you so much to everyone who is doing this, and I'll see you in the next one in a second.